Peace, 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 and welcome to another broadcast of In the Circle Ministry. I'm your host, Rico Blakeney, and today getting on real quick. Not gonna worry you long, but kind of giving a prelude into what we'll be talking about as I come live. Um, so let me start with saying too, welcome to In the Circle Ministries. This is our virtual YouTube. Um, This is our virtual YouTube ministry where we take things and put them under the microscope. Um, and I'm your host, Rico Blakeney, as I was saying earlier. Um, we will still be having our What's Up Wednesday shows, as always, at 7 o'clock. But I will be on tomorrow, too, before Wednesday. Because there's a couple things we want to look at. I want to show you guys and look at some old information. Um, I know we've been talking a lot about sovereignty and different things, too, but this plays into the whole sovereignty outlook and outcome of life that we've been talking about here lately. And it also just has some great information. Look at and see some of the arguments that has been made before in this movement, and you can kind of like see where it has been made, and it was made a long time ago, and it's been left in congressional records. So with that, like I said, I don't want to worry you long. So the title for the day is Who is Mr. Louis T McFadden? Um, Let me start to share my screen. And I'm also practicing. What's up, brother C King Bay? I'm also practicing on sharing and recording on the software and doing some other things as well too. So hopefully everything will continue to go well. So I'm gonna continue to share the screen that way in a sense. Okay. And whenever we get into it, this right here is what we're uh, reading about Mr. Louis Thomas McFadden. Um, so, like I was saying earlier, this will be an introduction into what we'll be talking about. Because we're going to actually read some of the information, some of the things that he argued with in the congressional records. I think it was June 10th of 1929. I'm not sure, but we will get into that later this week. We'll get into it tomorrow because there's a lot of reading. I want to read everything out there, but just to give you a prelude, like I said, a prelude to what it would be about. And maybe you can do some homework, some research before we get on. I'm gonna shoot for tomorrow around 5 o'clock, 5:30 to 6 o'clock tomorrow, because I have something to do at 7, and we'll read over some of it and get back into the rest of it on Wednesday at 7. So check us out at those 2 times too as well. And you have opportunity to check out anything and read anything um, that I give you, and before class starts or before the show starts, and that way you have some information on some engagement too as well. So thank you for everybody that's here. Thank you for everyone's watching. I'll come back to the comment sections later, just because of the software and the Zoom software that I'm using to record with and share my screen with. I can't see like the YouTube uh, channel and comment, so I'll come back to that later. But it's just a winky link search, and like I said, you can do a deep down search into things later. We may not get dead involved, but for today's um, class or whatever, we're just going to read over what we have on the screen for today and talk a little bit about it. Louis Thomas McFadden. He was born July 25th, 1876, October the 1st, 1936. And they may not talk about it in here, but he was later on, they would say, assassinated or killed. There was 3 different attempts on his life, and one was successful. I think the one that was successful was by the poison, but he was poisoned first, and then something else, and then he was poisoned. But anyway, um, he was a Republican member of the United States House of Representatives from Pennsylvania, serving from 1915 to 1935. And this is before and after the Great Depression. During the setting up and organization of the Federal Reserve banks and the national banks and stuff of that nature too. Um, so a lot of this information will go with information you will want to check out if you're checking into the whole HJR 192 and the gold standard, the changing of the gold standard clause. Um, so this right here is good information leads with that as well. So, but anyway, um, from 1915 to 1935, the banker by trade, he was the chief sponsor of the 1927 McFadden Act. And so that'll be something else we'll read later on, maybe into next week's, but tomorrow we will read more about his actual uh, speech that he made, or his when he debated, or whenever he argued his opinion about passing uh, some other alterations to the Federal Reserve Act and other stuff. So, but that's something else you can go search out and read yourself, to the McFadden Act, named after him. Which recharted the Federal Reserve System in perpetuality, meaning that it chartered the Federal Reserve System, and it changed the way it could operate, and it could operate forever, forever, never, never, with perpetuity. I'm sorry about that, perpetuity. Um, we talked about this before when I was telling you about contracts and dealing with contracts, and how a bunch of celebrities and everyone else, like Dave Spade was talking about, in a contract some guy tried to get my daughter with, because she had went viral on Snapchat and on the internet and stuff. But they were trying to get everything in her likeness, her image, throughout the perpetuities of the universe. And I told her that couldn't be a contract she signed with those things in it, because of the lawful ability that they would have to take her likeness and image and do whatever they wanted to with it, and anything else she created afterwards, forever and ever, it was theirs. It was no longer hers. But anyway, so that power is invested to the Federal Reserve. It will give them to them into um, perpetuities. Um, okay, so he liberalized branch banking for national banks and increased competition between members and non-member banks. He is known in his as an anti-Semitic conspiracy theorist. That's another reason why you might want to check him out. It's also this right here is also another story, and snipping into the other book that I have about the conspiracy theories and conspiracy theories and truths about the straw man. That one I'll be offering for sale. The other one is for free, and I'll probably be doing reading some parts of that book too as well, before the show tomorrow. But for the free book. But this right here is something that I'll be adding to the conspiracy later on. You can see turn into actual truth. So, but anyway, yeah. Um, which eventually saw him lose his seat in the House of Representatives. His early life, McFadden was born in Grangeville Center, uh, Grangeville Township, Bradford County, Pennsylvania. He graduated from Warner's Commercial College, currently known as the Elmira Business Institute, in Elmira, New York. And I might have pronounced that wrong, but anyway, you read too. In 1892, in 1892 he entered the employ of the First National Bank in Canton, Pennsylvania. In 1899, he was elected cashier. He became its president on July 11, 1916, and served until 1925. Mr. Fadden served as a treasurer of the Pennsylvania Banks Association in 1906 and 1907, and as a president in 1914 and 1915. He was appointed, not bad. He was appointed in 1914 by the Agricultural Societies of the State of Pennsylvania as a trustee of Pennsylvania State College. So he's got a hell of a resume. Political career. In 1914, McFadden was elected as a Republican representative in the 4th Congress and to the 9 succeeding Congresses. He served as the chairman on the United States House of Committee of Banking and Currency, during the 66th through the 71st Congress on 1920 through 1931. That's how long he served on the United States Committee of Banking and Currency. Though re-elected without opposition in 1932, he lost to the Democratic nominee in 1934. He was an unsuccessful candidate for nomination in 1936. And by then, after we get finished with this, you'll see why all of this downhill part started happening for him. But McFadden's main official legacy was the working on and the passing of the McFadden Act of 1927, limiting national charter branches banks to the state in which the main branch operated. The act sought to give national banks competitive equality with state charter banks by letting national banks operate branch banks. And give me one second, I got a phone call, and you guys just give me 1 second. I'm gonna try to mute myself. What I'm gonna try to do. Pause this and okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. Mr. Fatman was working on the passing of the McFadden Act. It limited national charter branches, like the 12 national banks that was there. These were the Federal Reserve banks and their national charter, and how they were out throughout the states and how they was able to operate. And he was changing the way that they could be able to operate. Banks to the states, national charter branches banks to the state in which the main branch operate. The act sought to give national banks competitive equality with state charter banks by letting national banks operate branches banks to the extent permitted by the law. The McFadden Act specifically prohibited interstate branches by allowing national banks to branch only within the state in which they were situated. Although the Regal Neal Interstate Banking and Effective Branching Efficiency Act of 1994 repealed this, and that may be something else you can check out and read as well. Provided of the McFadden Act, it specified that state law continues to control interstate branches or branches with a state borders or both state or national banks. So he was saying then that the state banks should be the powerfulest banks in the state, not the federal banks. And if the federal banks wanted to come into the state, from my understanding, that they would operate somewhat like the national banks, where they wanted to branch off. Say if it was First National Banks in South Carolina, it could branch off and have more than one First Bank branches off of that one bank, but it only could operate in South Carolina. That bank couldn't operate with the bank in North Carolina if it was the second bank or the first bank of North Carolina or the first bank of Georgia. Like the federal banks, those federal banks were able to do international. They was able to, wherever the 12 banks was at here and any other banks that they branched off from or to anywhere else in foreign places or wherever, they was able to operate and keep into conjunction and work together. But he was limiting the national banks through the state and through the states only, still leaving state with the power and the authority. So that's another thing to think of as well. When we get into later on teachings about it and reading into some stuff tomorrow and on throughout the week. Okay. And then while I'm talking about the standard clause or the gold clause too, when we get into reading some of the other stuff, you'll be able to see where today that they moved away from the gold standard, and we're somewhat of a cashless or debt-based society now, where everything is all negotiable instruments, and there is no gold of substance or anything backing the currency of the United States dollar besides the faith and the credit and the usury of it, um, and the faith and the credit of the nation of the people to back it and to pay it back, not the gold. but the future labor through taxes. Okay, so all that information goes with this right here too, and this all this information ties in together. So Mr. McFadden later became a both furious foe of the Federal Reserve, which he and I probably furious anyway, a very bad foe. He didn't like the MFers, which he claimed was created and operated by Jewish banking interests who conspired to economically control the United States. In a speech in the House of Representatives in December of 1931, McFadden accused Paul Wagner, one of the leading forces behind the Federal Reserve Act, of having engaged in the Great Depression. On June 10th, 1932, McFadden made a 25-minute speech, and that's what we'll be reading over. And whenever I get the other, when he accused the Federal Reserve President, we'll read over that later on. So this will probably be somewhat of a segue, a series that'll take us a couple of weeks or about the next 4 weeks. So get studied up and look into it and find out what's going on. Tell me your thoughts and opinion as well. And also do that today in the days comment down here. So thank you for coming out, liking and subscribing. Check out the description section of the channel as well. Thank you for hitting the notification, and thank you for being who you are to the channel. Thank you for helping me get the algorithm pushed out by liking and commenting into every stream that you come on. If you don't come on and do nothing but put a 1 or a 2, you don't have to agree or disagree, but just do that favor for me while you're here. Even if you're just sneaking in for a peek. If you got an account, leave a comment. If not, log in up under an account, make an account, and do that for me. Thank you in advance. Okay. After this expulsion from Washington, D.C., of the veteran politicians of the Bonus Army, which he called the greatest crime in modern history, McFadden moved to impeach President Herbert Hoover in 1932, and he also introduced a resolution bringing conspiracy charges against the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve. The impeachment resolution was defeated by a vote of 361 to 8. It was seen as a big vote of confidence to President Hoover from the House. According to the Time magazine, McFadden was denounced and condemned by all Republicans for his contemptible gestures. The Central Press Association reported that he was virtually read out of his party, had his committee post taken away from him, was ostracized by Republicans and called crazy. Senator David A. Reed, PA, and he intended to act to all practical purposes as though McFadden had died. We intend to act to all practical purposes as though Mr. McFadden had died. Saying they treating this nigga like, excuse my friend, they treating this fellow like he done died from the hell he done raised it, like this joke was dead. And so something else to think about, and why I said what I did say. But anyway, think about how, if you know anything about trust and wills and stuff like that, when people get written out the will, think about how much hatred that person in that family, or how much you had to violate getting written out. And in these time period, think about what and how you had to violate to be written out of a white person's will. Or for, in this sense, for them to say you're written out of our mind and we're going to treat you like you did with everything that you've said. So why was he blackballed and black sheep? And we'll get into a lot of that outside of the mainstream talks and thoughts and perspectives as we see here. But we're not going to read too much more into this. You can go and read and see the rest in yourself. And we're about the articles of impeachments. Okay, so when they start tying him to some more deep stuff, there's some other stuff you may want to read and check out too. It's a real good book. I haven't read it in so long. I have to go back and get a real good refresher on it, and that's the protocols of the elders of Zion. So reading that too, you know. So he made a bunch of comments on the House floor and a bunch of the stuff. So a bunch of the stuff that we might see what people call sovereign citizen idolatry. A lot of it is good information. A bunch of truthful have not been rebutted and still are could be fact checked today to still be true, but it'll be thrown out just because they put it into that category and ignored. And a lot of people have used it to, just like anything else, you can take the right thing and use it to perpetuate or to enforce your bullshit or your idolatry or whatever it is that you care to push. So um, just know that those type of things is what we have. Uh, what's up, brother Alpo? Too good to see you. So he's at work, but he's watching, brother. Great, great. Thank you for coming in. Thank you for liking and being a long time subscriber. Both of you, brother C King Bay, as well. Um, and that is not what I meant to do. Let me get back down here. And so yeah, so you can take anything and do what you want to push your thing. And so there's a lot of people out here too in this movement that are pushing a bunch of recertified, uncertified information. They're regurgitating and learning it. A lot of them are young too, man. A lot of people have, not saying this because I'm older, but a lot of people have not gotten to this information. And there's enough regurgitated information you can learn. You can learn to repeat some shit and learn to learn some processes where people have broken it down without being going within depth. So it's enough surface appeal to learn and to regurgitate without any remedy into it, without being able to get any resolve out of the information that you've obtained or ascertained, or something to do with that information. So when we get into this, we're going to look at it, and tomorrow we'll start it off with, now that we know who he is, or we have an introduction to Mr. McFadden. We will go into tomorrow to see, was he a whistleblower, sore loser, or crazy. So thank you for coming out today. Thank you for your time and your energy. I hope this has been a good look into something that may be new to some, and this information or this person may not be as new to others, but this type of stuff, information, I believe everyone needs to know, or this type of information that we teach. So as you can be well informed in anything, any of the processes that you do come and attain from the ministry through your donation, become a membership or private member of the In the Circle University, in the Circle Church as well. So just knowing processes and getting into processes is where a lot of people can get caught up in and get lost in the sauce. I do believe it's very, very important for you to understand what and the why you are doing it, so as you can move spiritually and have the manifestation and the results that everyone else gets. So with that being said, check us out tomorrow. I'll put the notification up earlier and send it out for the time, and we'll be stepping more into Mr. McFadden and reading what he actually read on the floor of the House Committee of Representatives in, I think it was the 32 in 1932. And after we get finished with that, I'll look up and try to find the when he called Mr. Wagner and accused them of using the Federal Reserve to do what a lot of people say that it has been done. So let's get more into that this week coming. Like I said, thank you for coming out. Wish much peace, love, and prosperity to everyone that's coming in. All my all of the original followers, all the new followers, and everyone else, and those passing by as well. So thank you for coming out. Thank you for your likes. Thank you for your shares. Thank you for your comments. And look forward to seeing you guys later this week. So you guys have a great, great night and a great rest of your day.